Welcome to Earthwork Echoes, where we slow down and watch what happens when tools are shaped entirely by hand. Today, we're stepping into a grinding workshop in 1960s Germany, where one craftsman still makes straight razors the old way. Before we get there, here's what you need to know. A razor blade isn't just sharpened, it's sculpted through 15 separate steps, each one building on the last. Miss one angle, grind too deep, and the blade either flexes wrong or never holds an edge. By the end, you'll see why this process disappeared almost everywhere else. Werner Bridenbach starts at the glazing jack, working the broad spine first, then the rounded tip. The steel arrives here already forged and hardened, but it's nowhere near ready. What he's doing now is refining the geometry, carving away everything that doesn't belong. The surface has to be flat, the spine perfectly straight, or the blade won't sit right during the shave. Next comes the tang, the narrow tail where the handle will eventually attach. It tapers into a curve, and that curve has to be smooth because any ridge or bump transfers straight into your grip. He grinds it down using the same belt-driven jack that's been here since the 1920s. The equipment is old, held together with repairs that were never meant to be permanent. Werner knows the workshop won't outlast him, so he's not replacing anything. Now the edge, this is the lower cutting surface, the part that actually does the work. He switches machines and begins thinning the steel, testing it constantly by feel and sound. You can hear when it's right, the pitch changes, the friction smooths out. That's not guesswork, that's 30 years of listening. Here's where it gets tricky. Werner sets up the hollow grinding machine, fitted with two small emery wheels made from artificial magnesite. Older grinders use natural sandstone, but the principle is the same. The hollow is the concave curve ground into the inner face of the blade. It's what separates a straight razor from a kitchen knife. Without it, the blade stays stiff, unforgiving. With it, you get flex elasticity, the ability to follow the contours of skin without cutting too deep. The machine starts with a belt drive and arm lever. Werner holds the blade in a jig and brings it to the spinning wheel. The goal is to carve out that hollow evenly, left to right, without catching the shoulder where the curve meets the edge. If he grinds too far, the blade loses strength. Not far enough, and it won't flex. This is the step where most mistakes happen. He works slowly, checking the angle every few seconds. The shoulder has to disappear gradually, blended so smooth you can't feel the transition. It takes focus, steady hands, and an eye that knows exactly how much steel to remove. Behind the shoulder, the blade tapers even thinner. This is called the thinning process, and it's what gives the edge its bite. Werner grinds the metal fine, bringing it closer and closer to true sharpness. An experienced grinder doesn't need calipers. The sound tells him everything. Glazing comes next. This smooths out the tiny scratches left by the grinding wheels and brings the surface to a bright, reflective finish. He starts at the glazing jack again, working the tang and tail with a fine emery paste. Then he moves to a dedicated machine and goes over the hollow section by section, polishing each surface until it catches the light. Straight razors go back further than you'd think. Bronze Age scrapers, medieval blades that were fixed to their handles, folding razors from the 16th century. But the craft nearly died in the 20th century when King Camp Gillette introduced the safety razor, and Jacob Skick followed with the electric shaver. For decades, nobody wanted a blade you had to sharpen yourself. Werner glazes every component thoroughly, focusing on the surfaces that matter most during a shave. The hollow, the edge, the spine. Each one has to be smooth, free of burrs or rough spots that would catch skin or hair. Solingen used to be the center of this industry. Thousands of razors left these workshops every year, then production collapsed. Only recently has wet shaving come back, and with it, a small revival. Solingen factories now make around 70,000 straight razors annually, but most of it's mechanized. Workshops like this one are rare. At the sisal wheel, Werner polishes the shoulder between the blade and tang. Then back to the glazing jack for the spine and tang, this time with a finer paste. The result is a brilliant, mirror-like shine. Buffing on the leather wheel takes it even further. He applies chalk powder and works the hollow until it gleams. Not every part of the razor gets this treatment, just the hollow, where smoothness matters most. Werner has spent his career not just grinding, but assembling. Now he joins the two handle scales to the blade. The scales can be made from imitation materials like tortoiseshell or ivory, or from genuine buffalo horn, ebony, even stainless steel. They're functional, but they also signal quality. He tests the action. The razor has to open and close smoothly, no sticking, no wobble. If it binds, the whole thing has to come apart and get adjusted. Honing is the final step before the razor is ready. On a bench stone, Werner sharpens the blade to its legendary edge. This is what separates a good razor from one that drags and pulls. Dull blades were the most common complaint in old barber shops. Men said it felt like a potato peeler scraped across their face. Werner finishes on Belgian wet stones, natural stones from the Ardennes known for bringing cutting tools to their finest edge. He strops the blade on a leather strap, giving it one last smooth finish. And that's it, 15 steps, most of them invisible to anyone who isn't watching closely, but every one of them matters. If you enjoyed watching this kind of craftsmanship, hit subscribe. We've got more lost trades and rare skills coming your way, and you won't want to miss what's next.